Hi, I'm your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and this is the Limitless One podcast. Join me on this journey as I interview the most inspirational souls who are tapping into their limitless blueprint on a mental, physical, and spiritual level to thrive in uncertain times. If you feel you are so much more than just this body, just this life, and want to tap into your limitless potential, you're in the right place. Here we go, starseeds. Have you ever had a burning desire to make a real positive change in the world? Welcome to the Limitless One podcast, everyone. I am your host, Anand J. Sukadia, and we are going to go deep with an amazing couple story of turning personal challenges into a multi-pronged organization whose mission it is to serve our United States military veterans. I'm honored to host Brett D'Alessandro and Alexa Modero as our first in-person guests. After serving 6 years with the USMC, Brett has found himself giving back to his brothers and sisters by serving the homeless and at-risk veteran community. Brett was deployed in Afghanistan in 2014 and came home to discover a large void in the care being provided to veterans returning from war. From this realization, Backpacks for Life was born. Brett is the founder and president, and his fiancee, Alexa Modero, is the co-founder and executive director. Upon Brett's return home from Afghanistan, Alexa witnessed firsthand just how challenging it was for Brett to reintegrate into civilian life. Alexa works closely alongside Brett to ensure that our veterans and their spouses are taken care of. Alexa oversees the general operations and communications of Backpacks for Life. Welcome to the podcast, guys. How are you?
Good.
We're good. I'm so honored to be the first guest. That's pretty cool in person.
I guess when did we first met you? When it was a soft open? Because I mean, we were at the Float Expo in Portland. We're with you and stuff. So we've done some travels with you.
Yeah, for sure. So that was amazing. So you guys are the first people that I'm interviewing here, but also I think it was like the second day we were open here at Home Life Wellness, my recovery spot, and you guys were here. And I remember having this conversation right here on this couch. I think Brett, you were sitting here, Alexa, you were sitting here. And you came out after a float. So it's amazing that we've known each other now for 3.5 years. And I think later that year, I think it was in August of 2018, I ended up going to the float conference and you guys were there too. And, you guys aren't in the floats, industry, but tell us a little bit about why were you at a float conference?
Yeah, so part of what we do with Backpacks for Life is so much like exploratory work about what can we offer to veterans. Like if it's not medication, are there other methods of healing that might work? So fly fishing, equine therapy, cooking classes, you name it. So we're always just exploring and trying to get a really good hands-on look at what that is. So like actually doing it ourselves so that we can make an accurate recommendation.
And you forgot the most vital way of recovery is coming to Home Life. and not trying to plug Home Life in, but seriously though, like cryotherapy, also flotation therapy. That's literally why we went to this float conference to learn about these amazing and natural approaches towards recovery. And this isn't something new. Flotation therapy, it's Epsom salt. It's literally salt. Floating salt has been around since the dawn of time. So, and then cryotherapy, it's literally putting some ice on you, but in a more sophisticated way. So they're just amazing naturalistic approaches towards recovery. And that's kind of, I'll start with, why we started Backpacks for Life. And, we started this organization when, Anand was saying, on my return back from Afghanistan, and I didn't know it was out there. I felt like this weak-minded Marine that, I was so strong, but now I couldn't get a haircut with having a mental breakdown. And I just felt like, I was just doing a dishonor to my fellow veterans because I just couldn't, cope with my recovery or transition back from my deployment. And so I was put on medical hold. I was going through these various programs. I still just thought that I was this only veteran. And I was going to a doctor's appointment up in Rhode Island during the winter. And I saw a gentleman with a sign, homeless vet, please help me out. So I'm like, let me go back to my motel, get some supplies. I put them inside a backpack and went back out and gave it to the gentleman. A little small talk and nothing more. And I saw him again 3 days later. And I pulled over to the side of the road, and he was also with a little child. And before I could get a word out, thank you so much. The son said, thank you so much for the backpack. I no longer have to go to school carrying my books in my hands. And Dad said, thank you so much for the warmer layers and supplies inside the backpacks. And at that point, I was like, wow, like there's other veterans that are like me that are dealing with this, that, you know, didn't have the best transition possible. And so I called up Alexa and I was like, hey, like, you know, what if we get some backpacks, put some supplies and toiletries in them and some resources and get them out to veterans out there that might not have the best resources like I did. I mean, I was very, very fortunate. I had a great family to come back home to. I had Alexa helping me out. Unfortunately, a lot of veterans don't have that. I felt like this was my calling or my purpose again. I was so fired up and I was like, I know where I'm here. I'm here to, you know, help others. I mean, that's why I joined the military. And, you know, with my transition back, I felt like I just lost that. I didn't have the ability to help others. So this is really, you know, what I was fired up for. And that's kind of how Backpacks for Life was born.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that the best ideas, the most contribution you can do actually originates from a sense of pain or a sense of healing on our own. You know, the fact that you went through what you went through in Afghanistan and came out and said, okay, I'm going through a hard time and other people go through a hard time. Like the best way to heal that is through contribution. You know, it's amazing that you came up with this concept, and you know, it just came from like being on the go, right? You see somebody who needs a backpack, some supplies, and then boom, amazing ideas created from that. Brent, can you tell us a little bit about, like, there's a lot of misconceptions about what it's like to be a vet and actually going into deployment. You were there in Afghanistan. Can you tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the experience and what it was like to actually cope in that world and then come back to this world and see how maybe the perception of what's going on in Afghanistan is different in the media versus what it really was for you?
Definitely different. You felt like you were definitely, you know, on a different planet compared to New Jersey, being in Afghanistan. You know, definitely an interesting setting. But I mean, I remember we were going on this one mission, and these kids were running around and trying to play on the trucks and stuff. And I remember opening the door, and this gentleman pulled up, and he had a rifle with him. I'm like, oh, like, is he about to shoot me? And he literally just looked at me and said, hello. You know, he had a rifle slinged over his shoulder. He said, hello. He's like, you know, he did speak English. He's like, you want me to get these kids away? But I was like, they're people. Like they're not these crazy third world individuals that, you know, are basically like lower than us. They're humans just like us. And I remember that. And it was like, you know what? They're just people trying to get by just like everybody else. So, you know, this is a whole different kind of subject, but you can really talk about, you know, the media and how there's spin on it. You know, are people trying to profiteer on this war with, you know, the opioid like epidemic that's happening in the U.S. are fueling all different kinds of things. But I personally went there just because I want to make a difference in somebody's life and help somebody that was over there, because there's some conflicts going on and stuff, and obviously, but there's, you know, some tribalism going on. But I really feel that, you know, just like us, they just want to live their life. They want to have an amazing family. They want to, you know, help others, but they want to, you know, just make sure their kids have it better than them. And I think that, you know, everybody has a right to enjoy their life, and it's kind of hard to say. You know, I'm not the most knowledgeable, but I do know that. Because, you know, I know President Biden wants us to, you know, we're finally exiting Afghanistan, and maybe we, you know, we're going, like, obviously I want to get out of there, but like, you know, maybe we need to strategize a little bit more, because, you know, there are the Taliban out there and other terrorist organizations that could really grab hold of the society very fast. So we just have to be careful with it, because, you know, they don't have the funding and government kind of structure as we do. So I think we just have to be very careful with it, but, you know, not going, you know, too far off that path. You know, they're just people trying to get by.
And what was it like coming back after deployment to back home and trying to live a life after everything that you've seen over there and the conflicts and everything, and then trying to like manage every day?
So it's like, okay, if I were to take you and I'm just gonna, you know, basically just throw you into another country that, you know, they don't English isn't their first language, and you're just there and stuff. And so yeah, it's a cultural, it's just like hits you hard, like the culture shock. That right there. But I think it was, you know, when I was over there dealing with that and came home, I saw everybody thought everybody would, you know, be right where I left them. But it was, you know, everybody was kind of carried on with life. So I just felt like, I was behind the eight ball. I felt like kind of isolated and different than others that, they didn't understand what I was going through, but also that's not their fault. Everybody's going through some scenarios, but I just felt different. I felt like I was left behind. And so that really took a hold of me, but also losing my purpose. I had this amazing high performing job and just come home to kind of back to society. I think, I'm talking from a reservist standpoint. Some, people in active duty might have it a little easier because they get to go back on base and work with people that were kind of in their setting. It might be a little more challenging for reservists to kind of get, plopped right back into the civilian world. So that was definitely difficult. But finding my purpose where it's just wanted to help others really helped me out. Still lonely here and there, but I think surrounding myself with other people that are like-minded. I'm not saying people in the veteran community, but people who have went through challenging experiences in life really helped me deal with, and I'm not going to say cope because I feel like cope's like it's there, put a Band-Aid on an affected wound. So I'm not going to say cope, but just to deal with it in a healthy way and use that to strengthen myself to help others.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where the vets, when you come back, when others come back, it affects them, but it not only affects their family as well. And Alexa, what was it like to see your boyfriend come back and try to get back into this, I guess, acclimate to this world? And I'm sure you can speak on behalf of many.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, and kind of what Brett was saying, like as a reservist, and we were in college at the time when Brett deployed, so it was like I was young. I had my grandfather who served, but was I like well educated and up to speed on what a deployment looks like? What are the possible things that could happen when Brett comes home? And I wasn't privy to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it was super isolating in the way that all my other friends were not with folks who were in the military. We weren't living on a military base. We were in college. So in a sense, it felt isolating just because I didn't know who to talk to about how I was trying to help Brett. And then, this is just a common thread with, I think, all spouses is there's a barrier. Like you will never fully understand what your veteran experience is. And you can try to as much as you want, but there are things they've seen or done or just experienced themselves while serving overseas that you'll never be able to feel at that same caliber. You can't fully get there and say, I know what you're going through. But it's a heavy load. Spouses deserve so much credit, especially those that are on active duty. You move around a lot of things are uncertain. We were fortunate enough that like FaceTime just became a thing in 2014. And we were able to FaceTime. I mean, we still did letters to try to be, sort of cute and, keep that kind of thing going. But yeah, it's a wild experience. Like one I could have never imagined. And it just felt super hard to find people who related to it. So it was just overall really isolating and challenging because as Brett was struggling and trying to find programs and support and healthcare that worked for him, I was trying to do my due diligence, but it's just such a complexity and no veteran story is the same. And I think a part of it was me trying to understand, like, what does it mean for a veteran who went to war to come back and struggle with PTSD or anxiety or depression. And a lot of it was like a learning.
And, like you said, there's no one size fits all treatment program for vets that come back that suffer from PTSD. So I know, Brett and Alexa, you've tried a lot of different modalities in terms of, that type of healing. Brett, what are some of the things that were offered to you when you got back from your deployment? And then where did you see that there was a void to fill in order to help other people in now the work that you're doing?
When I got back, and nothing against our command with how we got back, or people transitioning back to the to the civilian world, or EASing, which is basically leaving the military or coming back from a deployment. So there's programs out there, there's stuff out there, but for me, I'm going to talk through my own experience. We called it death by PowerPoint. It's just, here's the slides. Don't beat your wife. Don't abuse drugs and alcohol. Don't hurt your spouse. Your kids are going to take time need time to acclimate back to who you are. So it's very dull, but also I was just high on life. I didn't need that stuff. I was feeling glowing and stuff. Couldn't wait to see my family again. So I didn't really absorb that knowledge. There's some stuff out there, but it's very here's fill out these forms that do this. I didn't really hear too much about equine therapy, our mindfulness, our peer-to-peer mentorship, our hiking, our fishing groups and things like that. So I didn't know about these things. There's tens of thousands of veteran service organizations out there that didn't really talk about those things. I mean, there's stuff, but it was like a booklet. I mean, here's a big booklet, read through it. I mean, honestly, is anybody going to do that? No, but also in the beginning, I just wanted to get home and see my family. So I didn't really have time to look at that stuff. So I feel like there should be a way that they kind of go through this knowledge slowly, but also kind of wait a little bit to kind of get you settled. And because of that, I didn't really know what was out there. I mean, they talk about they go to the VA. Okay, great.
Get medication.
Yeah, here, maybe possibly get on some medication. Talk to somebody at the vet center. So, but that was really it. They didn't really let you know about all these amazing groups out there that, they can go for fishing clubs and hiking clubs. So I think that, I'm not discrediting anybody or saying, they don't give you anything at all. That's just not true. They give you something, but they need to find a better formula in how they let you understand but obtain this knowledge as well. I think that's the disconnect. Some people are like, there's nothing out there. They're not helping you at all. Like, no, going to the VA, and my experience in East Orange VA is good, great. The people are very nice, but it's confusing. You definitely have to put a lot of time into it and figure it out. Nobody's not going to really grab your hand and help you through it. I'm not saying that, we all have to be spoon-fed, but you need to have somebody kind of help you through this process, educate you when it's out there, and then kind of, give you the baton and let you, run. But somebody has to guide you a little bit.
I think I'll just add, and this is what we see time and time again with veterans, it's that learning curve. So like Brett feeling overwhelmed by this big booklet he's passed. And it's really like that some veterans don't have that person to champion them or advocate for them and guide them through the process. Like you're coming off of life and a mindset of being so structured, and in the military, you do the same thing. You get up every day and your life is so militant. Then you come home and you're expected to just figure it out on your own. And what it does is it actually flips a switch and just becomes this sense of overwhelmingness. And the veterans just close themselves off and say, there's just too much paperwork. There's too many things to read up on. What do I qualify for? I don't know what paperwork, what documentation I have to bring. And all of that snowballs, and then they just shut down. And that's where we find our veterans falling off track. So I think the biggest area of need, what we saw was the lack of the know-how and navigating through these processes, where veterans do need a little bit of hand-holding until they can get themselves back on a path towards self-sufficiency.
Yeah, I think going from structure, like very strict structure, there's no higher structure order than the U.S. military, right? And then going to a place where there's absolutely no structure. So it can be very overwhelming for veterans. So how are you guys filling that void right now?
So it's definitely different for every veteran we serve, but I think we've figured out a really, I don't want to say unique formula, but I think what we've found that works well is we never approach a veteran in their scenario and hand them a stack of intake forms or say, what's your name, date of birth, this. We sit down and have a genuine conversation and just say, hey, how are you doing? What's going on? What are you up to now you're out of the military? Nice. Like, break bread with them and break down those barriers to just create a foundation of trust first, because that's going to go so much further. And we don't, like, so many organizations treat veterans like a number, and that's just not what we do. And I think that's led to a lot of the effectiveness of the work that we do.
First got home, was put on medical hold. I went to go see a doctor in Newport at the Newport Naval Base, and they just gave me a bunch of medication. Like, the medication is just, I feel like that made it, no, I don't think it, that made it worse. That made it worse for me. That got me, that was the trap door to my depression. And that right there was probably one of the most challenging things to get off these medications. Yes, dealing with, what I saw overseas. We did lose somebody. We did, get shot at and blown up and all those things that you hear about in the news of what it's like to be overseas. But the losing my purpose, that really hit hard. But then bogged down my brain and slow things down and kind of put me in this mental fog. That got me really depressed. And I also was having, stomach issues because of this anxiety. And I didn't know what it was from. We were around
medication too, I'm sure.
Medication, and I thought it was these burn pits, and so like all this stuff was just like, it was like a bunch of different things all happening. and the medication was like putting a Band-Aid on an affected wound. So it wasn't really curing it. It was just, just keeping them quiet, keeping them at bay and stuff. And I just, there's so much stuff out there to deal with these things in a more natural and holistic way. So that's kind of where we fit in to make sure other veterans know about these things and educating them. But like Alexa said, the doctor, okay, what's going on? Okay, you have PTSD. Okay, you've seen some stuff. Okay, I would recommend this medication or this SSRI or a benzo like Xanax, and they should say, okay, let me hear your story. Let me see what's going on. Let's talk. Like, let's get to know each other. You want to go get some food? Let's go get some food. Let's get outside. Hey, we're in this little, a little cubicle. Like, let's go outside and talk. Like, that's how it should be. I felt like it was like, not felt like it is. It's a doctor talking to a patient. It should be somebody talk. It should be a person talking to another person, somebody that you can relate to and feel like, this person understands where I'm coming from. I'm not just, a 4 to 4:30 and then they'll have somebody else right after me, but they're going to spend time with me. They don't care about anything that's going on besides, just getting to know me. I feel like that right there is a way that we need to help veterans. I mean, like I said, there's nothing against what's happening. There are resources, there are people helping, but we need to find a more effective way. And that's just, basically getting the veterans' trust, getting to know them, and then seeing, okay, hey, let's try all these other things out there, and let's get you with somebody that you can relate to. I mean, that's like we basically base our model off of NA and AA. How you go to this place where you're nervous. When you're nervous, so you go to this place because you're dealing with drugs and alcohol, and you start to listen to these stories of people who are basically saying what you're going through, but they've been in sobriety for 20, 30 plus years. And you see, you're 20, this person's 40, like, oh, wow, like he's literally, or she's saying exactly what I'm going through, and they're sober, and they look happy, and oh crap, maybe I can do this. Like putting it in a way like that, where it's just, it's more effective than just being a number and, getting that 4 o'clock to 4:30 time slot. And then here's a medication I would recommend. So we just need to change up the process a little bit. It's not totally destroyed, but we need to change it up.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think a lot of what's missing in allopathic medicine, I don't want to knock allopathic medicine because it can be very effective for a lot of people in many different ways. If I cut my arm, I'm going to go to a doctor and get a surgery, right? I'm not going to go take an herb. But in terms of the compassion aspect, and it is also a business transaction. And, if there's 50 people waiting in the waiting room, he's not going to be able to spend, or she's not going to be able to spend an hour with you to take care of and understand where you're coming from. He has to see a set of symptoms, put a prescription together, and then that's how treatment is. And then after that, the vet is on their own. And there's no there could be therapy, along with the medication. But at the end of the day, you need to have somebody who has a good heart, who's able to find out what this person needs. And you guys are filling that void. And I know this organization was sparked and birthed from helping one person. Once you guys decided to, okay, we're going to dedicate a lot of time and our energy into this, what was the vision at the very beginning of Backpacks for Life? What did you guys want to start accomplishing?
So when we started this, it was just, we care about veterans and this is healing us personally. And we didn't think really much else of it. And it was just this grassroots effort. We started a GoFundMe campaign, raised, I think, $3,500 and handed out a bunch of backpacks after that one encounter Brett had.
Backpacks?
They were horrible. They're these neon green, thin toilet papery. They all broke, but it was a starting point. And over time, it was probably we started in 2014, and then by year 3, we were just handing out backpacks everywhere from Rhode Island to Maryland to California to Iowa. Brett was going out and advocating for veteran homelessness with other veteran service organizations. We had no idea it was going to end up being what it is today, but we got to a turning point about 2, almost 3 years ago now, where it was okay, this is becoming an actual organization with a clear defined mission, and people are receptive to it, and we're effective in serving veterans and their families. So I ended up quitting my full-time job and deciding to take on a role full-time with the organization. And it's just, we would have never thought that it ended up here, but over time, we've just found not new needs of veterans, but we found new and more effective ways to serve them. So developing our own backpack catered to a homeless veteran with security and safety features, based on everything they told us for years. And people are like, how did you come up with that? It's like, because we're listening to the people we serve. It's so crazy. And then evolving our coaching and mentorship program, which Brett kind of just touched on, being a peer-to-peer program, veteran to veteran or spouse to spouse, and creating an online platform to help mitigate all the noise and streamline the process and make it more effective for veterans. We just had a call earlier this week to present our platform, Roger, to a suicide prevention committee to help post 9/11 veterans who are struggling with that transition period. And we presented it to them as a possible platform that they can use. And they're like, this is incredible. Why hasn't anybody done this? And I think that's the one thing, like, we're willing to push the limits and push the envelope to get it done. And I think for a long time, we entered a space where we have been the youngest in the room by like 20 years easily. Everybody's
20
like
years?
an old, I'm being generous here, not 20 years. You know, older, like VFW, American Legion members, but we're in a space where people were just slipping into the processes of how to serve veterans, but not being willing to change them. And that's where we came in and kind of disrupted the space to just say, we see inefficiencies, but we also see a way to change it.
I'm going to go a little off topic really quick because I just, first of all, Alexa Modero, my fiance now after 8 years, she literally, this lady literally was in the fashion industry dealing with shoes. She was getting hundreds of designer from Sam Edelman designer shoes, hundreds of shoes a year because she was the shoe, like the size, the model size, and they're just giving these shoes. Stop that. She was having a great salary to literally work for pennies on the dollar to help homeless veterans. So she's just absolutely an amazing person. I mean, I'm just blown away by the things she does. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there really quick. And, you know, it's not just like, you know, I bring that up because it's not just the veteran, you know, it's if a house burns down, you don't just build up one side of the house, it's the entire family. So a lot of people, they think, oh, let me just work with the veteran directly. Well, you have to work with their child to help them understand what the veteran's going through and help the veteran know how to deal with their child, and the same with their spouse or their family members. So it's a whole community effort to let them understand, but also have the veteran understand where they're coming from as well, because, you know, it's traumatic on both sides. And people are like, oh, just the veteran. No, the family might be dealing with more than the veteran. I mean, they have to deal, you know, keeping things, you know, on lock at the you know, back at the home front. So it's, you know, we look at these things, it's through our own experience, but we listen. We literally shut up and listen and see what's going on. Okay, the lack of the know-how. Okay, a search platform that vets could figure out what's out there based on, you know, demographics or their income or, you know, different categories, and going beyond just government programs and stuff. Even though there's great government programs, and there's some government programs that I'm still learning about. Like, why did I know about that? And Alexa and I deal with this, you know, on a 24-hour, you know, I call it 8 days a week basis, basically. You know, we're always out there just asking why, asking questions and seeing, okay, what do veterans need? You know, that's why we constructed this backpack called the Bowery Pack to fit a veteran's need to help them survive and get off the streets. That's why we created Roger.vet, a search platform to help veterans figure out what's out there. So, you know, and I'm not like, people are like, oh yeah, no medication at all. Well, first of all, I would never recommend a veteran to get off their medication, and I would never discredit the Western medicine that is out there. It's amazing. I mean, we're living a little longer than we ever did before, so I'm not discrediting that, but I'm just saying, see what else is out there. You know, yes, if you're on that medication, that's great. You know, maybe talk to your doctor about, you know, maybe getting off it, or maybe you're on it, and that's totally fine. But, you know, try to, you know, like, it's like a portfolio. You know, you're not going to just invest in one thing, you know, the one stock. Like, let's diversify that portfolio by checking out other things, you know, put it on top of that. I'm not saying get off the medication, try something natural. You know, try something natural, talk to your doctor about other ways to deal with what you're dealing with. That's all we're trying to do.
Beautiful. And it's amazing that I'm so impressed by the way you guys, okay, most of you had full-time jobs. You were working a lot, then whatever time you had free, you were then working on the Backpacks for Life organization and all the other projects you're working on. Then you're also limited in time and you're limited in resources. So how do you scale an organization like this to create the capital, the funds, to be able to help other people, and also build an organization of like-minded people who are on the same mission as you guys?
So I think something we did right when I quit my corporate job and we decided, like, we're all systems go at this organization, is we we seized every opportunity to build our network. And that sounds so cheesy and cliche, but our organization would not be where it is today if I didn't go to 5,000 veteran entrepreneur networking events in the city. I could talk to a wall at this point because I just was like, hey, what do you do? How can I help support? How can you support me? And creating this ecosystem around us. And I think that really is what helped us get to a point where we are two people and we run an organization that has that, national reach. And yes, we're limited, but we built this network around us. And I think it had this snowball effect. I don't know what it is, but it just picked up speed. There's always burnout. We always experience that because we are only two people. But that's why we tap other volunteers who know our methods and know the way that we choose to treat or work with a veteran to do it in the most effective way.
I mean, it's definitely a balancing act. I mean, we got burnt out, so we were like, you know what, let's go to the vet center and let's talk to somebody there about, what we're dealing with. And that's fine. Because people like, I'll tell them, oh, go to the vet center. Oh, what's wrong? Well, like, see that right there, that misconception, like that stereotype of going to seek out help is because you're dealing with an issue. It's like, we need to reverse that and go talk to somebody and reach out to somebody or go to a therapeutic setting because you want to prevent something from happening. So we kind of have to reverse that. But yeah, I mean, there was burnout. We're extremely stressed. We are dealing with some, don't know how else to explain it, but like some very messed up and disturbing like scenarios and stuff. And that's kind of where we're in this non-judgmental like setting where, hey, if I were to judge anybody, I'd be judged, 10,000 times over already. So it's coming from a place of love and compassion to work with these individuals. But, that love and compassion, we have to have that love and compassion for ourselves as well, because, I still have a full-time job. Alexa quit her job to run this full time. We have amazing people that help us out, but we're only two people. And we have a lot of veterans coming to us because people know, hey, send them to Backless Life. They're going to work with them. And we have this, I'm not saying like a wild, wild west approach where we will do, anything, but we're not limited by what a grant or a government agency allows us to do. We have a more open approach to get them a bus ticket. Or, we had this vet who 6 years with no damn teeth, and she served our country, honorable discharge. She's an amazing person, but she didn't have teeth for 6 years. So we're able to get inside our network to find somebody, and she's getting veneers now. So like, that's just a beautiful thing. We have to work on ourselves as well. So we have to say no to events. In the beginning, we were going out there, we were helping everybody out. I'm still figuring out. I'm still like, I get very guilty when I have to tell somebody I can't help you out at this time. I have to say no to people because I'm only one person. I do have a life and I have a full-time job, but I'm still figuring out myself. I'm just a human. I still get depressed. I will go home and cry sometimes because it is very overwhelming with the scenarios. I mean, we have people with domestic violence situations, sexual assault, like rape. I mean, it's a lot of disturbing stuff, and not disturbing for them, but it's sad that people can do this to each other, but we're here to be that shoulder on and say, I don't care what it is. I might not be able to help you, but I can at least be here to listen to you and talk with you and stuff.
It's interesting because it's like we run a business, right? So it's like, my mindset is very operational, but at the end of the day, it's also like we're a nonprofit. We do not profit. It all goes towards programming efforts to support veterans. Sometimes we have to take a step back. And like Brett was saying, it can get super heavy and feel so like you have someone's life in your hands. Like we dealt with a very serious female veteran domestic violence situation, and she had a young 6-year-old son and had to flee her home with this boyfriend who was abusing her for years. And for her to have the courage to come to us and even tell us that she felt she was in an unsafe scenario and shows up, and we put her up in a hotel for 3 nights, and she shows up with like a gun in her glove box because she feels so threatened and in danger. And we did all the right steps. We worked with police, we called lawyers, we made sure that person could not find her and get her transferred to where her family lived. She drove cross country from New Jersey to Washington State. We made sure she had stops along the way every night to go do a fun excursion with her son so that this was a positive experience. This wasn't something that would traumatize him for life. But when she left after being here for 3 days while we worked out a game plan, I mean, I just sobbed because it's like you have someone's life in your hands. And sometimes we get a little bit just stuck in the operations of being a nonprofit. What sponsors do we want to get? What funding do we need to bring in? And you have to get back to that like core mission, and that like we have since changed that woman's life, and she's living in Washington, and she's thriving, and she has a healthy son, and they're living a beautiful life. And that part is like, we forget it sometimes. So sometimes you really do need to take that step back and like remind yourself of those stories of people we have helped and see them thriving. And like that, I think, is what makes it all worth it, despite getting, burnout and, just working really hard.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. It's always coming back to that purpose. I get burned out too running this business and figuring out how do I, make enough money to pay for all the expenses. But then at the end of the day, you have that one interaction where you're changing somebody's life, and it makes all the difference, and it kind of refuels you. And you guys are going through that process. You gave some great examples. Can you tell us some more like stories about vets that really just stuck out in your mind about like why you're really on this mission?
So we spent Christmas 3 years ago with an older gentleman who's probably in his 80s. We got a call from a local law enforcement officer saying, we found a homeless veteran, and unfortunately he was sleeping in like an ATM vestibule, and he's covered in his own feces. So that right there was mind-blowing to us. And, we went through all the proper channels. He did need some mental health support. He did need to go to the hospital, but Brett was there along the way to make sure and advocate for him, because he didn't have the wherewithal to make sure he had all the right documentation and to ask for the right things. And it ended up being this beautiful story, and he ended up in this incredible home. Brett spent his birthday with him. He spent Christmas with us and our family. We gave him a sweatshirt. He was a Marine, right? Yeah, we gave him a sweatshirt, and it was like 3 sizes too small. And he wore it anyway, and he was bursting out of it. And it's the best story. He had the best time.
So I just remember like I said, he was in his vestibule, and I was like, okay, I got there. It's late at night, and I was like, okay, we'll put him in we put him in a motel. I got him some clean clothes. I think it was actually my own clothes. I just brought it to him, and I got him some food. But I was like, okay, I want this vet. How do I acclimate it back to society? Obviously, yes, we don't have certifications. I'm not there prescribing medication. Obviously, we call literally the police, and we call an attorney every single time. Attorneys that we use to let them know what's happening, like the police in their town and stuff. So we're not just doing this road, but we have people. We call these people to let them know what's going on. Obviously, making sure the veteran's privacy is the number one objective. But I wanted to be like, okay, this person's been by himself for so long. So what I did was we called all these vets, and we had people literally go there and hang out with them. Bring them a vet brought him some shoes. Another vet got him some food. So we were literally just bombarding them with veterans just to kind of hang out with them. And I remember, so we got in this motel. 2 days later, I came back there. He just literally, I was like, you sure this is the same person? I mean, just clean shaven, just looked amazing. Now, he did need some mental health, and he was afraid to go to the VA. And I said, we actually did a little pinky promise. And I said, I will come there every day after work. I have to work, but I'll come there every day. And I did. I came there every day, and he had to go to the psychiatric ward. And so I was like, that's fine. I'll be there every day. And it was his birthday there. So I got authorization to bring him a cake. Brought him the cake. I would go up to I think it was like the 8th floor. They would buzz me in, got him the cake. We would, what is that? We played, they brought a TV up, and we played some like games and stuff, and everybody was, acting a little silly, but it was great. And it was the coolest thing ever, just, hanging out with them and stuff. But that right there is, what we do. We just be there for them. We can't promise them the world, but we can promise them that we're not going to just give up on them. We're not going to, be there to talk with them. So that was just a beautiful thing. And I mean, that's just like, we had this vet who needed a car seat for their kid. We got him a car seat. We had another veteran spouse actually, where she was dealing with mold issues in her house because of a leaky roof. We had a company come and repair an entire roof. We had another vet who didn't have AC during the summer. Their AC unit was broken. We had a company come in, AJ Perry, and repair their HVAC. And the water heater as well. So we just really connect with these organizations. You mentioned about, how do we get funded and all these things. We just do what we're doing, and people see that, and they come and help us. They see that we're authentic. We genuinely care. It's the most beautiful thing. These things are more than the weight of gold to me. That right there is, what I get paid. I don't actually get paid at all. Alexa's their only paid employee, which think it's technically illegal what we're paying her, but, but hopefully she doesn't press charges on her nonprofit. But but yeah, it's just, I don't know, it gives me that purpose. I mean, you see somebody, covered in feces, and now they're literally having their own little garden. And this other organization actually sent us a picture of him there because he was like, oh, Backpacks for Life too. Send them this picture of me. It was at Econ Therapy place, and literally I just remember my friend sent me a picture. He's like, hey, this person said they know you, and it was him with the horse. I'm like, that's awesome. That is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. And like you said, in order to help other people, there are resources that are needed. How can some of our listeners, if they're listening and they want to contribute, how can they help? Can they help with their time, with funding, with supplies? Please let us know.
Yeah, so everyone can find us on our website, backpacksforlife.org. We have a Get Involved page there where you can sign up to get notified about our hands-on volunteer opportunities, which is packing backpacks, helping furnish formerly homeless veterans homes when they finally get a home. So there's tons of opportunities to get involved. We have fundraisers all in New Jersey, so if anyone's in New Jersey. But yeah, they can follow us along on Instagram and Facebook. We're always doing Instagram and Facebook Lives to bring people in and see what we do. But there's tons of hands-on opportunities, and people can donate monetarily as well.
So I'm probably the least likely person to promote our nonprofit because it's not about our nonprofit. I could care less about promoting our nonprofit. It's about serving the veterans or serving people in general or just helping somebody out. So for me, when people say, how can you get involved? To see what organizations are in your local area that inspire you or something that you like to do, go connect with them or, just try to do one good thing a day. I mean, good thing a week. If you see somebody, that's sitting there with a sign, homeless, please help me out. First of all, I wouldn't give them money. Have a couple of seconds, go buy, with that dollar you give to them, go buy a water bottle, or maybe, do some research online to see, okay, I saw this person was homeless. He's been there for, her for a while there. Look up some resources, print them out and go give them to them. Or, maybe contact those resources and let them know about that individual there. It really doesn't take that much time. I mean, go buy them a sandwich with that $2 or, $5 you would give them and give the sandwich. I mean, just because if you give somebody money, one, it kind of enables them to stay out there, but also people, are imposters that are using, your loving compassion to, take some money off you. And also they could be dealing with drugs and alcohol. So you're just kind of enabling them. And so I would just, obviously people, so somebody said, okay, well, they need money to get a bus ticket. Get them the bus ticket then. Whatever they need the money to get that, whatever it is, get them that thing, ask them, or talk with them or just go up to them and say, hey, how's your day going? You're having a good day. Obviously people are like, well, obviously they're not, but, just talking with them and asking how they're doing that, the guy passed away. He went crazy and started talking to a ball because he had no human interaction. You interact with that person. They're literally a person. They're not crazy. They're not this person who's gonna, you see in a horror movie that's gonna, eat your head off or something like a monster. They're literally just a person, and you can talk to them like a person.
Yeah, I think loving everybody and realizing we're all human, we're all divine children, and not looking at the separation, obviously. And I love the fact that Backpacks for Life is the base in what you guys do, but also you're customizing with the help for everybody that they need. But also you started that Roger platform. So tell us a little bit about that. It's helping vets find positions for employment. And then also let's get into the cannabis space a little bit and how you guys are helping, because that's a big thing right now in terms of helping PTSD.
Yeah, so Roger was a brainchild of just seeing a problem in the way that the veteran service organization space operated. So we created this platform, and right now it's just for New Jersey veterans because what we realized is every state serves veterans differently, whether they have certain eligibility requirements or not. So for a veteran, a family member, they can go online, put in their zip code, their income, what branch of service they were in, and they'll be given in real time listings of nonprofits, government programs, and resources that pertain to them based on everything they just filled in. So what that does is help mitigate time wasted in going through intake processes only to be told, well, you don't qualify for our programs. And what's great is it's a platform for veteran service organizations too. We're very much in the sense of work together with other people in the community to get the job done. So it allows veteran service organizations like another nonprofit to create their own profile and share with veterans, here's what you need to do to get involved in our program. Here's what we require of you. So, I mean, it's taken us 3 years to get it up and running. It's been a labor of love, but it's this smart platform that we've showed to so many people who are like, wow, we've needed this for so long, or wow, we can't believe someone finally did it. And we were just willing to take that challenge on because we knew how effective it would be if it existed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, pretty much, said it all. It's a place to find resources based on, all these different variables and how we didn't create the platform and then add everything to it. We kind of like reverse engineered it in a way that, okay, how do things operate? And let's build the platform around that so vets could find these things more effectively. And that's kind of how we did it. And yeah, it's been an amazing platform so far. It's been working very, there's just some little hiccups and stuff, but it is what it is. And I think it's perfect now. I mean, well, first of all, those hiccups are gone because we launched one like 3 years ago. It was just awful. Took it down, spent a couple of years on it, and just going out there. But this isn't like somewhere I just Googled and found a bunch of stuff and added to Roger. Like we literally spent years, boots on the ground, going through these programs. Myself, our other veterans that I've known that went through these programs. So we literally like boots on the ground, going through them, learning about these programs, seeing if they're effective or not, and then putting them on Roger. Not only effective like it worked for me, I mean in like an ethical standpoint, that they're not trying to scam the veteran, by taking their money or, oh yeah, we offer, a 2% discount for veterans. No, everything is 100% free. You don't have to, there's no username or password for it. No intake processes. Literally, you can go on there and just start searching.
Yeah, and do you want to tell us a little bit about how you guys are involved in the cannabis space as well?
We've always focused on what are alternative treatment methods that can really push the envelope. And especially here in New Jersey and a couple of other states, PTSD has now become a qualifying condition for medical cannabis. We've worked with a handful of groups. There's groups that are now doing studies through the FDA to actually get this approved for veterans to use. I mean, it's crazy. Brett touched on this earlier, but you get prescribed medications and then another medication to subset the side effects of the first medication. And when you could just be focusing on something that's grown out of the ground and super natural, and it's just piqued our interest tremendously to see how effective this can be for not just PTSD, but anxiety and depression as well in veterans.
I mean, cannabis has evolved over millions of years by this, by evolution, just doing amazing things to make sure this is the best thing possible. Yet we're like, oh no, somebody in a lab coat, a scientist that maybe has 30, 40 years of research under their belt to then create this drug, but then they're we can go through the hypocrisy for hours, but it's just such a natural remedy. I mean, they prescribe it to help against opioid dependency now, so it's just natural. I mean, there's the taboo out there, these misconceptions, stereotypes, all this thing out there, is the petroleum industry combating it? Yes. Is the pharmaceutical industry, against it? Yes, because, they can't, patent it and keep it for themselves. You can go all through these things, but it's just something there. I've never heard of somebody that overdosed from cannabis or, was in a domestic violence situation because of cannabis. And it's just like, let's try that. I mean, first of all, people are like, there's no side effects. Well, that's not true. If you're smoking it, it can cause carcinogens, and so there are side effects to everything. But like the side effects, they definitely outweigh other side effects. I mean, the other side effects definitely outweigh the side effects of cannabis. So let's look into it a little bit more, and let's keep an open mind. I know, like in a couple of industries, you're not allowed to be on cannabis, but you can be on opioids and you can be on benzos and drink alcohol, which is basically poisoning your body, but you can't be on cannabis and take it like, a little tincture and oil. So we're exploring it. We're definitely, putting some more time into it. I know cannabis helps individuals out. Again, I'm not trying to just get a veteran hooked on well, not hooked, that's a harsh way of saying it. I'm not trying to get a veteran onto like a substance to use that. Obviously, there's a natural approach. Obviously, I recommend anything to the veteran, but I also let them know the realities of what might happen if you utilize that. But I always say, go to a doctor. I let them know to go to people to ask those questions, and that's kind of how we guide them. But cannabis is a beautiful thing. We're investing our time into it. We definitely, outside of our nonprofit, we want to get into it within the for-profit way with cannabis. We have a couple of amazing ideas. We're looking to open up a dispensary in Jersey City and then a cultivation site in Passaic as well. We want to have it as a way to help individuals who can't afford it and help them get cannabis as a form of medication, because some people right now it's very expensive, so they just can't obtain cannabis. So we want to make sure everybody has the option to use cannabis as an alternative to, SSRI or a benzo or an opioid or whatever other medications that are very, very addicting and or mind altering as well. And also people, who tried to use cannabis to help themselves when it was illegal, and they got, have a criminal record because of that. So we're helping them with the, expungement processes as well. We're just trying to help people out and let them know that there's other things besides these harsh medications that, you think, oh, it's just a pill, it's safe, a doctor gave it to me. And again, I'm gonna keep saying I'm not discrediting doctors and not to use medication, but just do a little research before you're taking that thing and digesting it.
Yeah, I think I resonate with you guys so strongly is because you're coming in from a very humble point of view and like looking at all the options on how to help people and then choosing or guiding people into different modalities, right? You're not like saying, okay, this is the only way. And if you don't let it listen to me, like you're cut off, right? It's all about being humble, and your why is so important. And I think it's really important to highlight that you guys went into this with such a strong purpose, but not necessarily a lot of experience in the fields. And then you just put the time, you put the effort in, and then eventually you got ahead, one day at a time and making this happen. And I know that at some point you got like on the billboards of like Times Square. Like I always see you in pictures with like the governor or the state senators and all this kind of stuff. It's really incredible what you guys have done, and it's just an honor to know you and to what you guys are doing. It's really making a positive impact in the world. And if there's anything that people can take out of this, I think it's being inspired to be more of contribution in this world and not only focusing on ourselves, but also helping people that are in need. Because once everybody starts putting that energy into helping the collective, was it a rising tide lifts all ships, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we move forward. That's how this planet evolves. Now, let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think you came here, or you chose to come here to Earth as Brett and Alexa? What did you want to experience?
I never thought I'd end up in any line of work where I was giving back. And not that I wasn't a person who wanted to help others, but growing up, it just was never something I saw for myself. And now being in a space where I get to give back every day, like I know that I can, and this is such a crazy thing to already say, but it's like, I know if when I leave this earth, I will have left it in a better place and will have done something. If it was one veteran, if it was 2 spouses, if it was 5 spouses, whatever that number is, I feel like I can confidently go out saying, like, I know I've made a difference. And like Brett said, leaving this corporate job where I was pushing paper 9 to 5, and yes, I loved what I was doing and I was in fashion, but there's nothing that compares to work that's so meaningful. And like to now have that purpose in life and be doing that and never thinking I'd be in this position, it's just, it makes you feel good.
This will have, a reason why I'm saying it in a second, but, I've been bullied, I've been abused, I've lied, I've cheated, I've stolen from a store, I've done all these things. Sometimes people are like, oh, look at that person, listen to this podcast, they sound so perfect, they're amazing, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, it's such BS. Like, everybody has issues, everybody's going through stuff, people have cried, people are going through depression, still deal with depression, like still deal with anxiety, like, from just, general social norms to, internally. So, I'm still working on this myself. People are like, oh, Backwards Life, you guys are perfect, you're doing amazing things. Like, no, we're still going through this ourselves. We're just like you. We have those, downfalls and faults with us, internally and externally. But why I'm on this earth, I went through hell. I went through a lot of stuff. I mean, it was, being an alcoholic and in recovery, and to, dealing with these things and seeing these horrific things, and also dealing with veterans that are going through like beyond things I can't even comprehend of why another human would do that to them. But why is that person like dealing with this? Just why? But I guess, why I'm saying all this is, I feel like I'm here to let people know that it's, it's okay to be different. I love people who are odd, unusual, weird, and everything in between. You know, I love those people, and those people I resonate with because, you know, they make me feel like, you know, I'm not crazy and unusual and odd, you know, but there's nothing wrong with that. You know, people who are odd are the people I love and stuff, and it's good to be odd and different. But, you know, I feel like that's kind of why I'm here, is to let people know that, you know, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be different and unusual and stuff. And I feel like, you know, society, you know, we're going to shun you. It's like, do whatever makes you feel happy. Obviously, you know, a safe way, but do whatever, you know, that literally makes you feel happy. And that's kind of why I feel like I'm, you know, I'm on this earth, to let people know through my own experiences that it's okay to, you know, like I had a vet who came to me, oh, you know, he's dealing with heroin. You know, oh, Brett, I've done it again. That's fine, man. It's all good. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not like, oh, you know, I'm not going to yell at you and say, oh, I told you, you know, we worked so hard for you to be sober and now you're on heroin. That's okay. It's fine. Let's go through it. You know, maybe you're going to, you know, maybe this is the reason why, to get you to stop and stuff. And you know what? If you use it again, that's fine. Let's talk about it. I'm never going to, you know, tell somebody that, you know what, I tried to help you out. So basically, with all that long spiel, and I can just keep going on and on and on rambling, basically, it is okay to be different. And I feel like I'm on this earth to let people know that through my own experience, that it is okay to be yourself, and don't let anybody, you know, put you down for who you are, and get out there and ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of strength to understand that, you know, what you're dealing with. And I'm not saying ask for help as because you're different, but, you know, asking for help as in, you know, I'm dealing with this anxiety or depression or alcohol or drug dependency, and, you know, I want to better myself by just living a more healthy way.
Beautiful. And I love businesses where you start out, where you're we're all trying to heal ourselves, right? And go through this crazy and navigate this crazy life together. And if we create a community of people who are also on that same path, we're all just figuring shit out, right? Like, that's why I built this center. It's like, I'm looking to heal, I'm looking to help other people heal, and that's why I created it. It's same for you guys. So it's so beautiful. I really want to thank you guys so much for being on this podcast. How can we learn more about you?
Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, Backpacks for Life. We're pretty active there. You can see the work we do with veterans and whatever crazy new business idea we've come up with in a way to help veterans. We're always posting there. And our website, backpacksforlife.org, and Roger's website is roger.vet. That's where you can find us.
All right, we'll put all those links inside the podcast, as well as the blog posts and everything that we do. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool.